Hello, welcome to another exciting edition of Sports Pizza. It's a sports show where we give you the very best of insightful analysis, information, education, and a bit of entertainment. I'm the host of the show, Edwin Onyebolise, and on today's show, we have a lot in store for you, from football to tennis, Formula One, and so much more. Don't forget, we have the Tipsters Corner where we give you very insightful tips for punters going into games every weekend. I'm not doing this alone. I have someone new, someone fresh on the show today. I'll be introducing him when we return from this break. Stick around, don't go nowhere. Welcome back from that short break. My name is Edwin Onyebolise, and with me on set today is Oladuni Bankole. Bankole, my man, how you doing?
It's good to be here. I'm making my debut. Hopefully it's going to be a debut filled with goals. Just like, some of the topmost strikers we have out there. But yeah, it's good to be here, Edwin.
All right, talking about top strikers, it didn't go the way of Erling Haaland. This weekend, Manchester City lost to Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. We'll get to that, but let's start with the team of the moment, Crystal Palace, the first major title in over a century of existence. What does it mean for teams like Crystal Palace, who have come through different stages of their season? They've come through heartbreaks. Remember, they lost to Manchester United in 2016, the FA Cup final. They also lost to Manchester United in 1990, a repeat of the FA Cup final. But this time around, they're third time lucky against another Manchester team. And it must be said that Glasner has done a fantastic job with his side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected Glasner to join Crystal Palace. He was an Europa League winner at that point. But the allure of the Premier League, the financial strength of the Premier League brought him into the Premier League. And you look at Crystal Palace, you look at how they've recruited, you look at how they've built up their team. The likes of Eze, the likes of Olise, who left last summer. You have the likes of Mateta, even the guys in the midfield, Checo Doucouré, the American, Richards also. And this is a team that has played together for a while. This is a team that has a proper coach. You look at the system that they utilize against Pep Guardiola. He told Guardiola in the press conference prior to that game, like, if you repeat the same system against us, that will lead you to that 5-2 victory, you will suffer for it. And that was exactly what we saw. It was a game that was efficient. It was a game that had defensive performance. Yes, you can talk about the red card, but at the end of the day, you look at their defensive performance, you look at their structure. I don't think Manchester City would have broken through even if they had 120 minutes, even if they played for 1,000,000 minutes, because it was how strong they were defensively. And I think for a team like Crystal Palace, it is what you expect. It is the story of the FA Cup, the allure of the FA Cup, the oldest cup competition in the world, and that is what you see. That you look at the celebration after the game. Even Glasner talked about it. He talked about how a team like Crystal Palace will be qualifying for the Europa League. He talked about how UEFA would have to check out Selhurst Park because there are a few things they have to get further. It shows you how a club of that stature playing in Europe, what it means to them, what it means to the fans.
Still talking about Crystal Palace, Bankole, were they lucky with some calls? The pivotal moment in that game, should Dean Henderson have gotten a red card?
Yeah, no-brainer. I think he should have. I think you look at denying a clear goal scoring opportunity according to the rules. Yes, the explanation from VAR and the PGMOL, I think it's nonsense. It is quite clear. It is obvious. It's the most obvious red card I've seen in a while. Erling Haaland, yes, you might talk about him scoring, the probability of him scoring, but it's Erling Haaland. Yeah. He's the highest goal scorer in the league for back-to-back seasons. There is a high chance of him scoring, and you denied him that clear goal scoring opportunity. You stopped it. It's pushed away the ball into the wide areas, and I think he should have gotten a red card. He was out of his area. He was out of the 18-yard box. He should have gotten a straight red card. No, I don't think there should be a debate about it. But like we said, it's about the English officiating, and this is what we always get.
Should Eze move from Crystal Palace to a Champions League team, a title-chasing team?
The thing about Eze is he seems like a player who wouldn't do well with the overcoaching we see in the big teams. He reminds me of a young Jack Grealish. You look at Grealish in Aston Villa. He had that freedom where he could take his man on, where he could decide things on his own. But with the big teams, the teams in the Champions League, the Chelseas, the Cities, the Arsenals, there are too many structures. There are too many information being given to these players, and I don't think a player like Eze will strive in that environment. He's a good player. I think he's a good player, but I just think he needs a couple of seasons more at Crystal Palace to just grow, to get that maturity to be able to perform at that high level.
Let's talk about Manchester City. And the first thing that struck me, Bankole, was the midfield combination. I saw Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva at the base of the midfield, and I'm like, what is Pep doing here? Crystal Palace are one of the most efficient teams in transition. They have fast players, they have technical players, and you also have Mateta who can hold up. And it was the goal was a microcosm of Crystal Palace this season. And the fact that a fantastic manager, for some the greatest manager in the world, could not identify that and went with that midfield, it was baffling. And we saw that City were punished.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that lineup and I tried to get into the mind of Pep, and I could only assume that he thought Crystal Palace would come out with a low block.
Yeah.
And with low blocks, you need your best passers.
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Umar Mamouche, Haaland. These are guys that you need to break down low blocks. Erling Haaland with the crosses, even though we don't usually see Manchester
we did
City.
see it.
Yeah, with the cross. So he felt like that was what he was going to do. But then watching the game, he just felt like this was a man who had no idea as to how he's going to outperform Crystal Palace. This was a man who had no idea as to how to maneuver his way out of the Crystal Palace system. Because I don't understand why you would start Kevin De Bruyne in a final. And from the goal, Crystal Palace, it was exactly what they took advantage of. Mateta holding up the play, Munoz making that run, and Eze with the one-time finish. It was way too obvious. And for a manager of his pedigree, for a manager who, like you said, a lot of people have called the greatest of all time, he has consistently made mistakes in finals. And he has been giving excuses, he has been giving them overthinking, but I just think he has been found wanting. His tactical nuance has been found wanting in crucial moments at times.
And finally with Manchester City, Bankole. Now, in the moment where you needed something decisive, you needed someone to create that bit of magic, we didn't see it. It was pass. If I'm Haaland, I'm going to be very frustrated. In the box, crowded, just cross the ball. We didn't see a lot of that or enough of that. The few times the balls were thrown into the box, it created chaos. Now, City are not a team that also shoot from distance, because I find it baffling again that with that low block, about 10 men behind the ball, you kept on passing. Is it easier to defend Manchester City in this moment? And also, is Pep's style, the pass, death by 1,000 passes, is it becoming obsolete?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you look at the managers who have also emulated this style. They have been struggling in the league. And Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, I don't think it's just down to personnel issues. Because a lot of people have talked about the legs in midfield. A lot of people have talked about how they are struggling with Gundogan, how they are struggling without Rodri. I think it's also down to the fact that a lot of team understands how to make this system obsolete. A lot of teams understand how to make it less threatening. You look at some of the high-performing teams in the league, the Liverpools of this world, the Inter Milans of this world, the Barcelonas of this world. Look at how they play. Yes, you can call it chaotic, you can call it too one-directional, but it is what is getting the result right now. The game has shifted back to pace and power. It has shifted back to the physical aspect of things. Yes, it's good to have technical players, but you still need that pace, you still need that power, you still need that physical aspect, and that's what a lot of teams are building on. That's what a lot of teams' recruitments are building on. And I don't see Pep Guardiola, changing his style anytime soon. And a lot of people thought, oh, it's Pep Guardiola, will go into the market and spend. I don't think we'll spend wisely. And again, we'll be back here next season talking about the same thing.
Yeah, talking about spend, he spent £200 million in the January transfer window, and a couple of City fans have come for him, saying that, hey, maybe we need a change. But hey, do not write off Pep Guardiola, a man who has won the treble with Manchester City, the treble with Barcelona, multiple league titles, domestic cup titles. I'm sure he has something to say next season. And we move straight to the Italian Serie A. It is the final day of the season. It was chaotic in the penultimate game. Inter Milan thought they had done enough to defeat Lazio. Lazio got a penalty. Pedro, cool, calm, collected, slotted in. In the other game, Parma versus Napoli. Napoli thought they had gotten a penalty in the dying moments. The video assistant referee called the attention of the central referee, and that penalty was whipped up. Ended both draws in both games. It is still advantage Napoli. Bankole, will Napoli bottle it on the final day of the season?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, shout out to Italian League, Calciopolo at its finest. I think this is Italian football at the pinnacle. You have an Italian manager coaching the biggest national team. That's the Brazilian national team. You also look at the Italian League. Also, I think it's one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting league right now. But back to it, Inter Milan and Lazio, also Parma and Napoli. I was watching 3 games simultaneously. Yeah. The Milan game also was on show, and I knew, or I suspected, Napoli would drop drop points against Parma. It's a Parma team who have been difficult to beat at home, especially when you consider they are fighting against relegation. Inter Milan against Lazio, I felt Inter Milan had what it takes to beat Lazio, but also Inzaghi has this habit of rotating when he doesn't need to rotate. You were leading, you need to defend your goal. And yes, they scored in the dying embers of the game, but it was also disallowed. But I also thought he could have done better. I thought he could have managed that game better. Lazio has been blowing hot and cold, but they're a very attacking team. But you also know that you can nullify their threats. They don't have the best of players. Castellanos, yes, is a good striker, but he's not up to par as what you think would threaten an Inter Milan side. For Napoli, yeah, it was expected. And for a team who are not having any European obligations, I felt like they looked too lackadaisical, they looked too tired. And it's unusual to see an Antonio Conte team like that. But hopefully we'll see another drama on the final day of the season.
Who are you putting your money on?
The Milan fan in me wants to put my money on Napoli. I mean, it would be nice to see Inter Milan go trophyless, especially after Baby Marotta has made a lot of noise about how they are going to win the treble. Imagine talking about winning the treble to winning nothing. It would be nice, but also Inter Milan has been one of the best teams in Europe this season. It would be unfair for them to end up without winning the league title. It would be unfair for them to end up not winning the UEFA Champions League. So I think if Napoli drops points on the final day, I hope they can take advantage of it. All
right, we're keeping fingers crossed, our eyes glued on our screens on the final day of the Italian season. We'll be back next week to give you all the drama as it unfolds. We'll go on a short break right now. When we return, there's more on the other side. It is still Sports Pizza. Welcome back to the second half of the show. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Sports Pizza, and my name is Edwin Onyebolise. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. Let's get back to talking sports, and this time we move straight to Italy. A masterful display from Red Bull's Max Verstappen. He didn't take pole position. Oscar Piastri took pole position, but on the first corner, he overtook him. He controlled the pace, and it was a fantastic win. His second of the season, and he has thrown open the entire Drivers' Championship race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people have written him off, which I thought was premature. You look at how the season has gone so far. Yes, McLaren have had the better car. McLaren have had probably the better drivers with Piastri and George Norris. But I also think there is a lot of Grand Prix to cover. There is a lot. You can't write Max Verstappen off. We saw the Japan Grand Prix where he won. We also seen it a couple of times where he could have won, where he was in a position to win the race, but due to the deficiencies of the car, Red Bull, he couldn't. And I think he still has a long way to go. He still has ample opportunities to get to the top of the driver's table. But my heart is always with the Ferrari. I was a bit disappointed. I mean, at home advantage. Ferrari also driving in Italy is something that should at least count for something. And we didn't see neither of them, on pole position, on the podium. And I think that was disappointing. You can't bring a Lewis Hamilton, a driver of his stature. Yes, he's 40 years old, but a driver of his stature should at least be doing something better than that. I hope that improve over the course of the season.
This weekend is the Monaco Grand Prix. It is a circuit known for the difficulty in overtaking. So pole position is very, very key, and you assume that whoever takes pole position might end up winning this particular race. From there, we still stick with Italy because all of this action happened in Italy this weekend. The Italian Open, it was a sweet and sour weekend for Italians. Jasmine Paolini defeated Coco Gauff, the first Italian woman to win the Italian Open in 40 years. She did it a straight set, 6-4, 6-2.
Yes, Edwin, when he wins the post, she didn't only win the single, she also won the double alongside Sarah Akari. And remember, she lost to, she defeated Coco Gauff in the doubles in the quarterfinals, also defeating her in the finals. A lot of people touted Coco Gauff as the favorite, but it was a game that was quite difficult. A game where Paolini, took advantage of the home fans, took advantage of the fans cheering her up, and with every serve, with every return she gave Coco Gauff, it showed her intent. It showed that she didn't exactly respect the American, even though the American was one of the best tennis players in the world right now. But yeah, congratulations to Paolini. Unfortunately, we can't say the same for our Italian compatriots.
It was a partisan crowd with the president of Italy amongst the dignitaries in attendance. And like you said, it wasn't so much so sweet for the returning Yannick Sinner, world number one, having served his 3-month ban. He was expected to continue his 26th match winning run, but hey, Carlos Alcaraz was having none of it. And the reaction on social media was very interesting because you saw a lot of people say, oh, thank God Alcaraz saved tennis. Thank God Alcaraz defeated Yannick Sinner. It seems that this doping issue will not go away for a very long time, and Sinner has to deal with it.
Yeah, I think Sinner has put himself in this position. A lot of sports fans, not just tennis, even football fans, are desperate to have this storyline of heroes and villains.
Yeah.
And right now, it looks like Yannick Sinner is the villain in tennis. So we've had several villains, the Nick Kyrgios, the Maria Sharapovas. There have been several villains due to different reasons. But Yannick Sinner is a great tennis player. I mean, the Australian Open champion. You said his 26th match on beaten streak, and even in this ATP Masters 1000, he didn't drop a set up until the semi-finals, where he dropped a set. And you look at how Alcaraz took care of him in the second game. It was absolutely one-sided. In that second set, and I was disappointed in Sinner. Yes, the first set was close. It was closely contested, but the second set 6-1, losing in that manner, it's a shame, especially when you have the home crowd to your advantage. You have the home crowd cheering you up, just like I said for. He could have done better. Even if he had lost that game, I didn't think he would lose in the manner at which he lost it. But although, shout out to Alcaraz, I think he's going to be number one after they released the rankings. Ever since he has broken out, he has not stopped looking back.
All right, finally we're leaving Italy. We're heading to the NBA, and now we're going to do this very quick. We have the conference finals. We have the Timberwolves versus the OKC Thunders in the West, and the New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers in the East. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's going to make the NBA playoffs finals from both conferences?
So it's like I said about about tennis. Everybody desperate for heroes and villains. For basketball, it looks like the poster boy these days is Anthony Edwards. The Minnesota Timberwolves. He has knocked out LeBron James. He has knocked out Steph Curry. Even though Steph Curry didn't exactly play a lot in the game against Golden State Warriors. But yeah, I think I would be tipping the Timberwolves to make it to the playoffs final. I'll also be tipping the Pacers. I think they've done really well. You look at their playoff run. You look at what they've done. Teams they've defeated, even though the East is known to be a joke conference. But I also think, that would be the best team equipped to take up the Timberwolves. All
right, at this point, we need to go on another break. This time, we're not going to bore you with unnecessary talks. It is our video for the week. Do enjoy it. When we return, it's going to be the Tipsters Corner. Welcome back from that break. Bankole, it feels good to be a Crystal Palace fan.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the celebrations. A lot of pundits or a lot of people in the stadium said it's the longest you've seen fans celebrate after the full-time whistle. It shows how much it means for the Crystal Palace fans. I mean, first trophy in over a century of existing as a club side, and also playing in the Europa League is a big deal for this club side. And like I said, it's the magic of the FA Cup. Yeah,
congratulations once again to Crystal Palace. And we head straight to the Tipsters Corner. Bankole. We have 3 games for our punters this weekend. 2 games from the Italian Serie A and 1 from the English Premier League. In the Serie A, we have, of course, the top of the table games, the title deciders. Napoli at home to Cagliari, and we have Inter Milan away to Como. Let's start with Napoli, who are at home to Cagliari. What should punters look out for?
Napoli at home are one of the best teams, not just in the Italian league, in the top 5 leagues in Europe, and I also think they should do enough to win. But it's the final day of the season. Yes, we have to apply cautious. We can go 50-50, but I also think you can go for like a 1x and under 4.5 for Napoli. You can go for corners because Cagliari will be defending deep. Cagliari would not try and attack, go man for man with Napoli. Napoli would be playing against a low blocks, and with low blocks, you'd have a lot of deflected shots. You'd have a lot of goalkeeping saves. So you could probably go for 7.5, 8.5 corners, but to be on the safer side, probably just go for 1x and under 4.5.
All right, for Inter Milan away at Como, arguably, or maybe unarguably, the best team or the most informed team in Serie A at this moment.
Yes, and we can talk about Fabregas, about Como, but they spent a lot of money, but that's a topic for another day. Against Inter Milan won't be going to Como for the scenery. They'll be going to see if they can win the Italian league. They'll also be having one eye in the game against Napoli, so I think it should be easy for them. Win an over 1.5.
For Inter Milan, that's bold. All right, you can also go for over 1.5 in this particular one, and I also think Como will probably score 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, that's why I went for the win on over 1.5.
Yeah, win on over 1.5. And in England, it is the big one. We have different games, different match centers, same time, Aston Villa and Manchester United. You also have Manchester City away at Fulham, Newcastle at home to Everton. But the big one is Nottingham Forest at home to Chelsea. It's a winner-take-all. Bankole, what should punters expect?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a closely contested game. I think Nottingham Forest without Murillo is going to be a problem for them. Chelsea should do enough to score. I think Chelsea should have a odds of above 2 point something. So a goal over Chelsea over 0.5 should bring out some juicy 1.2, 1.3. So I think we should go for Chelsea to score.
All right, for Nottingham Forest, anything to look out for?
Nottingham Forest, yes, they defeated West Ham, but their form in the last 5 games have been quite hot and cold. I think they've not done enough to qualify for the UEFA Champions League. Yes, they've had a very good season, but the last final weeks of the season have been underwhelming. Marianakis even came down to have a word with Nuno Espirito Santo to show you how tense it is in the camp of Nottingham Forest. But I also think Chelsea, a young side, inexperienced side, the occasion might get to them. But I also think they have enough quality, to get at least a goal. So Chelsea to score. All
right, Chelsea to score from Oladuni Bankole. We always tell you on the show, bet responsibly. Sports Pizza is not liable for any bet loss. What we'll do here is just give you expert opinions on some of the tips to look out for this coming weekend. And that is the much we can take on the show today. They say time flies when you're having fun. We'll do this again same time next week. Bankole, it's a pleasure having you on set, and we hope that you become a regular.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of pizza. So you should be expecting to see me here regularly. It's always nice having to do this with you, Edwin. And from me, Oladuni Bankole. See you guys next week.
And from me, Edwin Onyebolisi, I won't leave without saying this. Follow us on our social media platforms. And of course, we have lovely content for you on our YouTube page at Sports Pizza. We'll do the same time next week. Have a sporting weekend. Bye-bye.